Well, I think it's a lot of different reasons, but one reason I think is that it's an industry. There is like because people have always wanted to know how to live. I mean, since the ancient times, there's always been like ideas about what is a good life, how is the different theories about the proper way to live, and what is the good life. But I think that what has happened is that this is a huge industry. It's a market in our time, and as any capitalist logic, it's like you have to kind of expand and expand and expand, and also make profit out of it. For example, I was looking a few months ago on coaches. I started to click on coaches who talk about trauma, for example, and you have this huge amount of mental coaches talking about trauma, and trauma is of course something very real, something very but I think that for them, they want as many people as possible to think that they have trauma, because for them it means more followers and more people who start thinking about themselves in this way. And so for them it's like a monetary industry. It's not like someone who wants all of these people to feel better and have better lives. It's like so it's like I want so in this, because it's an industry, it starts, I think, to damage people also.
Damage people?
Yeah. For example, this idea that you start to look at yourself like you need help with everything. You can't make your own choices, or you start feeling or for example, like this idea with like mental coaches who say like you have to self-proclaimed mental coaches with no psychological training kind of tell everyone that you have to put up boundaries, or you have a trauma, or things like that. And then you start thinking about yourself as exploited by people around you, and I think it can end up with people feeling more alone and being more isolated. For example, like because of start perceiving themselves as victims for loved ones around them, for example. That is one example of mental health coaching that I think can be damaging. But there are several. I mean, you have diets, you have really weird diets, you have supplements that are extremely expensive, you have skin routines that take over the entire lives of people and cost like a huge amount of money, and you use all your time and energy and money into some crap product that probably doesn't help you. And so in that way I think it's damaging. Yeah, I think that there should be like because now I feel like, because I am a really big, I think that you should really have like rational control and planning and so on over like the big parts of society. For example, something like the climate crisis or something like. I really love like a rational plan on how to decrease the emissions of or decrease fossil fuel usage and things like that. There, on this kind of level, I think that it's really good to have like rational plans, also in the economy, in housing, in welfare, all of this, But I feel now that on this level of society, we're like, oh, the economy, I don't know why. There is inflation or like a climate crisis. What do we do? No, we can't have any rules. We cannot agree on anything. But instead, we have all these plans and control on levels of life where I don't think that we should have that type of, that it's not good to have this type of control and controllive planive thinking. For example, your love life, or your like to think like, I want this to happen, I want to have a partner at this age, and I have this goal, and I'm planning, I'm doing this and this in order for this to happen. Things that are really difficult to control and absolutely are out of our control, or how exact my body should look, or how my face should look, or how my things like this, or like my exact eating habits, or my like you apply this like strict control, where I think that it can kind of, you have to you want optimization, efficiency. I tell this story that I saw a doctor on television giving health advice, and he gave the health advice that he wanted someone to squat when they were looking in the oven if their food was ready. And that's a typical way, I think. This is the typical to have efficiency and optimization in that kind of environment when you're at home cooking. It's like that's a way to destroy cooking completely, you know. That's a way to destroy this activity. So in those activities, I don't think this type of thinking applies. So I think that I think one thing is this like idea that you view yourself as a consumer at a market where I want certain things. You want to have the idea that you are in control, and a lot of people also, like mental coaches and so on, sell you this idea that you can think like, what do I want? I look for it, I make plans, and then you try to do that, and you notice that it doesn't work. It's not in your control. Understand on the same time that you can be really receptive to this type of advice because you really want, like, what can I do to make this work? But I mean, I think it's really mysterious with love, because love is something like falling in love is something that is really out of our control, really out of our control. It seems like it's something that happens on another level. So often you can like fall in love with someone that you don't want to fall in love with, for example, like something that is like, you may already be in a relationship and you fall in love with someone else and you really don't want to do it, but you do it, you know, or you fall in love with someone who is unavailable, or who is really bad for you, or who is doesn't love you back, or, you know, so and you can't, it's really difficult to accept that you're just like, you can't decide really, or maybe you have to just accept this type of pain. And it seems really pre-modern, like why should I have to endure this? Like it's first of all, it's not true, and same, because the people who work hardest, I think it's really absurd, because there was an example of this that I saw on Swedish television. There was a really successful Swedish football player called Zlatan Ibrahimovic. I don't know if you know him, but he was like, he was from a really poor neighborhood in my hometown, and his mother was working, I think, constantly on like 2 or 3 jobs. She was cleaning houses. They were immigrants from the Bosnian War, and he tells that they often didn't have food in the fridge and so on. And then he became extremely successful, like we know. And then he was in an interview, and then someone, like the journalist, said, like, you can really be like a role model for immigrants in Sweden, because you show that if you work hard, you can have success. And at the meantime, I'm thinking so much about his mother, because if someone who really worked hard, like was her, but still, even though she worked so hard cleaning the houses of rich Swedish people, and she didn't even get enough money to feed her kids, and people who do it work extremely hard, but it's still like not valued at all, or it's not seen as something that is a role model. So it's something there that is really fucked up with this idea that if you work hard you will get reward.